Jeff Rawson.
All right. Hi. Thanks. Thanks for the chance to talk. Okay. I'm going to try to blast through. I'm talking about 3 bills. Okay. I'm Jeff. I'm a chemist. The group I founded is the Institute of Cannabis Science. We do consumer protection in cannabis. And we tell people the honest truth about cannabis using data and research and analysis. I'm testifying in support of H194, an act relative to the Massachusetts Cannabis Control Commission forming its Department of Workplace and Consumer Safety. The CCC's failures to protect consumers and workers have already been talked about a lot, and they are a systematic result. They happen because these people don't have a department that's actually in charge of them. There's actually no employee of the CCC who's in charge of consumer protection or workers' protection. So we've heard a lot about $7 billion of revenue that adult use marijuana has brought to the state, but I think that we might have forgotten that that money didn't come from business owners. It came from consumers who were purchasing the fruits of labor. It's a shame that we pay so little attention to the rights of those people that make up actually most of this industry. The language of the proposal H194 should be augmented to specify the membership of the department, the proposed rank and reporting responsibilities of its director. Furthermore, the reporting requirements of this department must be specified, like the type of report, its contents, who writes it, how often, to whom is it addressed. I urge you to pay special attention to spelling out reporting requirements for the CCC. All right, and then about S88, an act protecting cannabis equity businesses by enforcing ownership limits. I want to point out this is really more than equity businesses. It establishes a capacity and expectation for audits of ownership, and it creates a public database of licensees. We know from the number of today's bills, which concerned license caps and ownership shares, that it's very important to assure the public that these are enforced correctly. And most importantly, S88 establishes a whistleblower program that would protect employees of cannabis companies, regulatory agencies, and other stakeholders from retaliation if they report wrongdoing. These whistleblower protections are essential to rooting out abuse and public hazards from the cannabis industry in Massachusetts. I myself have spoken to workers in Massachusetts cannabis who witnessed misconduct in testing, cultivation, production, and enforcement. And most often, the affected parties choose not to come forward out of fear of retaliation. And finally, I'm testifying in support of S90, an act establishing an internal special audit unit within the Cannabis Control Commission. I've written extensively about how the CCC has worked to subvert requirements of reporting to the legislature and the public. The commission has struggled to establish a culture of accountability, and evidence suggests that members deliberately conceal failures from the legislature. This is why it is so important to establish an internal office with complete access to internal records, but controlled externally. Individuals in the commission appear to have obstructed the chief of research, Dr. Julie Johnson, PhD, in her investigations into cannabis testing. I described evidence of this concealment, including comments in a public meeting and a conference abstract for a presentation that was never given in an article published on Talking Joints Memo. And the Chief of Staff and the Office of General Counsel of the CCC seem to be protecting the agency or some of its employees from repercussions after their failure to investigate alleged misconduct in testing labs. Those failures of enforcement may have further consequences now that one lab has sued others over these allegations. And in a public meeting on March 13th, I witnessed more evasive behavior and aberrant legal assertions from the Office of General Counsel on the subject of the delivery exclusivity period for social equity applicants, as I reported in an article published by the Institute of Cannabis Science. The objective of the evasion on March 13th appears to have been to conceal failures of the CCC to follow statute in collecting and evaluating data. The exclusivity period for delivery drivers was extended without the evaluation of any report on its merits, and no public explanation for the lack of a report was provided. These failures impact more than a few stakeholders. Policies which impact the entire industry are being set without the needed data. So thank you very much for listening to me. I'm happy to answer any questions about any of these.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Are there any questions from the committee? Thank you very much for your testimony. Appreciate that.